lot of people consider controversy to be a rather bad thing, especially with video games. It's like anytime a game does a thing that's considered taboo, it sparks a massive, usually inept, shitfest based around said thing, potentially giving the game a bad reputation. Now, I'm no believer in all publicity is good publicity, but, well, all publicity is publicity, and controversy can certainly help a game get attention. However, it's not always a good idea to rely on that controversy to sell your game. Not everyone can be Rockstar, and not every game can be GTA, and today I aim to prove that. Also, before we begin, I should mention that I signed a contract recently in order to maybe get a bit more viewership on this channel. So if this video seems a bit weirder than usual, well, there's your explanation. Oh, and one of the stipulations of that contract was to have this guy on. Alright, get out here, let's get this over with.
Hello there, you may address me as Dale, and I've been called upon to provide insight where this imbecile can't. And fair warning, if I detect any hint of criticism of this game, I will refer to you as an SJW lip-tarded cuckold, which I was going to anyway because I can tell that's what you are. Is that clear?
Note to self, actually read the contract before you sign it. Today's game is Barbarian, the Ultimate Warrior, and it caused controversy. This is a rather obscure game that, well, I'm not entirely sure if anyone in the US knows what it is. But for you British folks, this may just be a nice nostalgic trip for you. And since I'm a dirty American who could easily fuck this up, I'll let Dale handle this for now.
As you should, cretin. Barbarian the Ultimate Warrior was released in 1987 by Palace Software for various home computers. I could list them off like this dullard wanted me to according to the script, but that's a tad passé, so I won't bother doing so. The company was coming off the success of their 2 Cauldron games thanks to an infinitely talented programmer they hired named Mr. Steve Brown. For their next game, they gave the glorious man free rein, and this is what he came up with. An ultra-violent fighting game that would have scared the pants off of any of those old po-faced parliament pricks.
Okay, sure, I guess. Anyway, the game itself involves you playing as a barbarian, trying to slay other barbarians in order to save your barbarian girlfriend. How barbarian? I mean barbaric. You do so by just kinda clubbing your opponent to death, or by decapitating them instantly and winning the match like that. Depending on the version you play, you might get some better visual flair in that regard, but by today's standards, the violence is pretty tame. More so when the goblin guy comes to kick the severed head off screen. And I can't personally attest to its quality because I haven't played it, but looking at the footage, if this is all it has to offer, then I have to say it looks rather bland.
Oh, piss off, you silly fool. You have no idea as to what you're talking about. Watching the head fall to the ground as blood spurts from the severed neck, accompanied with a scream and a satisfying thud, is the kind of wholesome stuff us British folk lived for.
Alright, firstly, I doubt that. Secondly, you just took that verbatim from the Wikipedia page. And thirdly, if that's supposed to be a British accent, then I'm the German fuck!
I don't know what you're referring to, you dense dummy.
Moving on, while the violence did cause some concern amongst critics and other folks, and even got the game banned in Germany, oh what a shock, that isn't the true controversy this game caused. To tackle that, let's look at the cover for this game. You see that lady there? Yeah, I know she's nice to look at, that's not the point. Her name is Maria Whittaker, and at the time she was most known for being a page 3 model for the British tabloid The Sun, which essentially involved her showing them boobs for whoever purchased the wasted newsprint.
Oh, aren't you just the shallowest man alive?
Excuse me?
Censoring out the breasts and shaming a tabloid for daring to display such a thing? You're so pathetic.
Are you serious right now? Fuck it, I have an idea. Why don't you talk a bit about the controversy?
Gladly, your poor excuse for writing was getting on my—
Just do it!
The British public didn't really care for this information, and the more Palace advertised the game, the more this crowd became upset. Much of the anger formed into letters sent to various computer game magazines at the time, with general readers and even religious bodies expressing their furiousness at the display of Miss Whittaker and whoever the big guy was, I don't know. I personally always found this particularly odd, considering the 80s was a time for more provocative media to occur, such as...
Got two strong jazzercisers that are gonna help you tone up that upper torso. Don't go to bed with no price on your head, honey.
Here's a little coffee break for you.
And it hurts so good. Come on, find your pelvis. I know you've got one and it's okay to move it.
But I guess video games hadn't quite reached that point yet. As expected though, all this controversy did was get Barbarian the Ultimate Warrior more attention, and the game was a large success for Palace. There, are you happy?
Slightly. So yes, controversy helped make this game rather successful, and now Palace can rummage in their riches. However, with these riches came cockiness, and the company tried to replicate the success of Barbarian a year later with the sequel, Barbarian 2: The Dungeon of Drax. The game was a bit of a departure from the fighting game style format of the first one, and more of the action-adventure variety. This switch-up sounds more like an interesting style, but critics were pretty mixed on it overall. As for the attempted repeat of controversy, they got the same models to pose for the cover/advertisements of the game. And if I had to comment on that, I'd say it's a bit less risque than the first game. And unfortunately, it didn't seem they could repeat that same spark. Sure, some people got pissed off, but nothing to the level of the original controversy. This is probably to be expected though if you just do the same thing again instead of a different controversial thing. Once again, see GTA for that. From what I can tell though, the game still sold decently, and they had plans for a third game, but a few years later the company got sold off to Titus Software, you know, the Superman 64 people, after their parent group shifted focus to the movie industry. I don't think that went very well for them.
Oh dear, what an unfortunate scenario for them. This is certainly a lesson for the ages.
True, sarcasm aside, but I don't think it's something that's been fully ingrained in developers just yet.
How so?
Well, I believe the best modern example of this is that classic twin-stick edge the video game, Hatred. Remember that game?
Ah yes, the game that got all those pansy game journalism sites up in a tizzy. Bunch of shite-faced hacks. I could do their job and I don't even have thumbs.
Right. But anyway, Destructive Creations' little creation seemed to exist only to bank on shock value. I did a whole video on it already, so I won't go much further with my personal thoughts on it, but I swear it was because of that controversy that the game sold well at all. Because as a video game, it's a giant bottle of piss that's been in the fridge since 1997.
Useless piece of shit.
However, did you know that they released another game since then? Yeah, IS Defense, a turret-based stationary shooter where you shoot people in trucks and boats on a beach and... that's it. Like, no, seriously, that's it. The content of the game was a tad less provocative, this time you're killing the bad guys instead of being the bad guy, but said bad guys were still inspired by a rather controversial figure. So it's clear DC were trying to bank on that controversy. Not to be confused with the other DC, though really what's the difference, am I right?
Actually, even the company explicitly stated that they didn't make this new game to cause controversy at all.
Yeah, I buy that about as much as saying that the other DC is doing a good job at running this country right now.
That was a poor impression and you know it.
Doesn't matter. And similarly to Palace Software's second stab at provocation, sure, there were a few angry people here and there, but nothing as massive as Hatred. And there hasn't been any news from the guys since. I assume they're working on their next big game, as IS Defense is apparently just a side project, but I honestly don't think anything they put out is ever going to top Hatred. So there we go, folks, a little lesson for all y'all's aspiring game developers. If you're depending on controversy to sell your game, don't expect it to last too long. I would recommend, being true to yourself in your creations and, be smarter about your marketing and, make a good game. But what do I know? I just talk about game controversies on the internet.
That's probably the most honest statement you've given in this whole video.
Oh, so glad I could work with you too. Now get the hell out of here.
Are you daft? I'm here to stay, sir.
What?
Did you not read the contract? Silly boy. It clearly says here that I need to stay on this show for the next 30 episodes or else you won't get your viewership. So I guess, as they say, tough luck, kiddo.
You know, as much as I'd love for you to stay, I don't think that's happening.
It says it in the contract, dullard. I don't think I can make it any clearer.
True, but that shard of glass embedded into your chest disagrees.
Shard of glass? What are you talking about?
Jesus. That guy was a real ass.
Good to the very last drop.